The ladies smeared with cheap cosmetics in the saloons of the Wild West were usually not customers, but prostitutes. It was difficult for an ordinary woman to find a job in the Wild West, so about 1/3 of the girls belonged to the workers of the oldest profession. There are cases in history when girls whose position and status would not have allowed them to work in such a profession literally became the best workers in this business, albeit by force. Read more about such a case when a model woman by destiny entered such a profession in the video. In the development of new countries, ladies of easy behavior were among the first to settle in the uninhabited territories and were ready to accept clients. In the movies, the life of such girls is not shown plausibly enough. Everything is cozy and relatively safe. In real life, such madams did not live for 30 years. Why girls went into such a profession, especially in the rapidly developing United States of America. Not only poor people became girls of easy behavior. The classic story, when a poor girl, in order to support herself, her husband, who plows in the gold mines and finds nothing as well as the children, goes moonlighting with other men. The husband either doesn't know or swallows his pride and tolerates it. But there are even more incredible cases. For example, a rich businessman settled with his family in a new place where the railroad was being built. At the time of the development of the Wild West, when the railroad was being built, there was a lot of money and crime. So the businessman was just engaged in the construction of the railroad. The family lived with him. The conditions are so bad, but when the case will be finished, he promised that they will move closer to the sea. The work was boiling. The workers were laying tracks. The businessman's wife was busy with the household and children, and he was bored and went to the saloon in the evening. What could a man do in a saloon? That's right, drink, gamble, and have fun with girls of easy virtue. Unfortunately, not everyone can control their passions, especially when it comes to gambling. Our businessman, let's call him John, smelling a pile of money, decided to tickle the nerves and played with his companions on a big bet a lot of money. Sometimes he was lucky, sometimes he lost, in fact, went to zero. Having heard about such gambling with lukewarm customers, local bandits decided to participate in such a tempting event. In those days, card cheats were highly valued in the criminal world, and they could easily bet on the interest of any businessman who did not have a serious roof over his head. One night, our Johnny lost a lot of money. He made a big mistake and started borrowing money, losing even the wages of the workers. His business partners would not lend him money, so he was left penniless and in debt to those very gangsters. Stuck in this town, he simply went to lay the railroad himself, reduced to the level of a mere laborer. Money was catastrophically lacking, and then his wife, swallowing her pride, the most beautiful and enviable woman, went to get a job in a brothel that would somehow stay afloat and leave this damn town. That's how a lady from decent society quickly became a brothel worker. There was a great demand for her, by the way. Johnny's former business partners, who had heard about it, lined up for an appointment with his wife. Her price was higher because her appearance as a red-haired, white-skinned American woman was highly valued in those days. Because of the higher price, Johnny's wife was preferred by businessmen and gangsters who had money to spend. She soon began to earn much more than Johnny, who was plowing the railroad. Johnny was not liked by the common workers, who remembered well that he had once been their boss. Fortunately, they knew nothing of his wife's occupation. The family began to get off their knees, and the money for the move was almost saved. Johnny's wife was still only liked by decent gentlemen with money. Once the railroad workers got wind of Johnny's wife's secret. After learning of the price tag, they decided to discount the money they had saved and enjoyed the company of his beautiful wife to the fullest in the saloon at night. In the morning, they discussed it loudly. After that, the family had to leave town in a hurry. The amount of money they had saved already allowed them to do so. Without telling anyone, the family left in a hurry for the coast. When the owner of the saloon heard about the loss of such a worker, he was furious. She brought in a very good income, and the demand for her was overwhelming. Fortunately, Johnny's family was able to escape and settle in another state. It is said that they opened their own gambling house, but his wife was already working there as an administrator, having studied all the intricacies of the business, albeit on her own skin. This story shows in detail that a woman of any class could become a lady of easy virtue if circumstances so developed, especially in the Wild West. In the 19th century, women often followed their husbands. Among the available occupations that could be used to support oneself and children were working as a seamstress and a waiter. Working as a teacher was considered a more elite profession. These jobs were on demand, if I may say so, and were usually taken by more enterprising girls who did not want to sell themselves to a laborer or a bandit. It's wild to hear, but in those days parents could easily sell their daughters to work in a saloon. Most of them were foreigners, Chinese and Mexicans. The main reason for such terrible deeds was poverty. There were also cases when a girl tried this profession out of interest. This was most often seen in wealthy families, where the daughter was under the constant hyperparental care of wealthy and respected parents. As a rule, such girls were forbidden many things. They did not need anything and studied constantly. Some ran away from home in protest. There is a story about a certain Kate who, at the age of 20, decided to try her luck as a hooker. At the right time, she collected the necessary amount of money and ran away from her parents' house. She already had a plan to get a job in a saloon in a neighboring town. After being hired, Kate lasted exactly 1 day on the job. After being caught by a drunken bandit and entering through the back door without asking permission, Kate went on a real rampage. The owner of the saloon realized after the incident that this was the daughter of respectable people from the neighboring town and personally drove her back. The parents were shocked and hurriedly left the place as everyone around heard what had happened. Kate's fate is unknown, but rumor has it that she married successfully and had children. The average age of a girl working in such an extreme profession was 20. Those over 35 were considered old and left the profession. Brothels in the Wild West were profitable for everyone. They made money, attracted new residents to the towns, and indirectly paid taxes to the treasury. Subscribe to the channel, like it, and share your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching.